Let's have a little chat today. Hair loss has been one of the most difficult and defining things I've ever been through. It's been almost 20 years since it first started happening, and I can finally say I have truly accepted it and have learned to move on. But when it first was happening, I didn't think I'd ever get over it. I always had fine, thin hair growing up, and so when my hair started falling out, it quickly became devastating. I just couldn't afford to lose any. Growing up, I was a bit of an overachiever, so I was always dealing with really high levels of anxiety, always trying to do too much, trying to be perfect, all the things. So after high school, I was completely burnt out. I went to college ready to conquer the world, and instead I had a rude awakening that I could not keep that same pace, especially with all of the added stress of adulthood, and I just started spiraling down this deep, dark hole. I went through a major depressive episode with super high levels of anxiety and panic attacks. I quit going to school and work, and I just completely isolated myself. I straight up stayed in bed for days at a time and got myself into some financial trouble because of it. All of this pressure was weighing heavily on me, and my body started to show the consequences of it. I started seeing clumps of hair falling out in the shower. If I did try to style my hair, which wasn't very often during that time in my life, but if I did, I would notice thinning in the back and on top of my head. It was especially devastating at the time because now not only was I dealing with this existential crisis and all of the added pressures of adulthood, I also was suffering from crippling anxiety about my appearance. Everywhere I looked, I saw girls with gorgeous, thick hair, and I felt so alone in my struggles. Nobody seemed to understand or know how to help me. Thank God I had an amazing support system, and over the next couple of years after that, I got my life back together. The hair loss slowed, but it never fully recovered. I went to several doctors who just seemed to brush me off by saying things like, "Oh, it's not that bad," or "You're young, your hair will grow back." One doctor suggested I try minoxidil. He explained that if I stopped using it, any regrowth I experienced would just fall out, so it was gonna have to be kind of a permanent product in my life. I was supposed to apply it morning and night to my scalp, and honestly, I hated it because it really made my hair greasy and it was just a pain. I used it for several months until I got pregnant with my first child, which is when the doctor told me to stop taking it because it might not be safe during pregnancy, which honestly took it off the plate for the rest of my childbearing years, really, and which is why I just never really went back to it. With each child, the postpartum hair loss was brutal. Everybody seemed to have a remedy for me. Aloe vera, horse shampoo, onion juice, rosemary oil, avocado, eggs, mayo, burnt tortillas, biotin, iron supplements, washing my hair more, washing my hair less, praying, prescription drugs, PRP, light therapy, myriad of growth shampoos and conditioners, serums, hormone levels, blood tests, thyroid, vitamins, supplements. The list is never ending. In the beginning, I tried a lot of these things, but nothing seemed to really help. I also experienced a lot of judgment from people. They would tell me "Don't stress so much, you're making your hair fall out," or "Your body is telling you something is wrong, you need to take better care of yourself. What is your diet like? Clearly you're not nourishing your body correctly." Eventually, I was so worn down from all the criticism and treatments that didn't work that I just gave up on all of it. It's so hard for people to understand why, but it's literally like an emotional roller coaster of getting your hopes up something will work, trying it not working, and spiraling into another depression. And it's just an energy suck. I was so over it. After over a decade of thinning hair, my doctor confirmed it was female pattern hair loss and that it was hereditary. So after doing more research about genetic hair loss, I found the official term is androgenic alopecia. I found that a lot of times this can be triggered by something, whether it's early on or later in life. I believe the trigger for mine was my mental breakdown in college. Of course, there's really no way of knowing for sure, and I'm totally at peace with that at this point. If there's one thing I'm positive about, it is that hair loss is very complex, and we may never know the official root cause of any of it. I just learned to deal with it and kept my hair pretty short. I learned all of the tips and techniques of how to make it look more full and conceal the thinning. I shifted my energy from trying to regrow my hair to just making what I had left look better. Every stylist I ever went to suggested hair extensions for me. And for a long time, I really thought seriously about trying it. But there were a few hangups for me. Number one, the cost was really expensive and a lot of ongoing maintenance that was just like out of my budget at the time. On top of that, I just kept imagining like the Lord Farquaad look where I had like extra density down here, but nothing was gonna fix this up here, which is where I really needed the coverage. I am a voracious researcher, so I was constantly Googling like thinning hair solutions, how to conceal hair loss, trying to find the right combination of words that would give me the solution I really felt like I needed. One day I came across a YouTube video of a lady clipping in a hairpiece onto the top of her head, and I was like, what? That is exactly what I need. Up to that point, I had never heard of a hair topper or a top extension piece, which is what that one was called. I jumped into research mode and found everything I could find about hair toppers. I knew they were expensive, but what convinced me over hair extensions was that there were no ongoing maintenance appointments at a salon. I loved the idea of being able to clip it on and take it off whenever I wanted to. That meant no sleeping in it, and I didn't have to wear it all the time if I didn't want to. My stylist actually tried to talk me out of it because she said that she had seen some before that looked really bad and she really didn't think I'd like it, thought it was gonna be a waste of my money. I decided it was just money, and I had spent far more money on other things that were less promising, so I bit the bullet and bought it. My stylist helped me pick out the color, and then when it came, she colored it and cut it for me. I'll admit it wasn't love at first sight, and it did take a little bit of work. I had to practice, styling it, clipping it in, figuring out how to blend it in the front. I went back to my stylist a couple times to tweak the color and the cut. Once I got comfortable with it, I realized this was the perfect solution for me. I bought my first topper back in 2017, and since then I've tried dozens of different kinds. I have learned what works for me and what doesn't, and how to apply that in a more general sense to other women. In 2020, I started my own consulting business, and I've since helped hundreds of women find the right topper for them online. I've never done anything more professionally fulfilling than this. I love feeling that kinship with other women who've been through a similar experience with their hair loss. Over the years, we've built a beautiful community online, and we have regular in-person retreats where I have made some lifelong friendships. Don't video me. At 19, I never could have imagined that the thing that brought me the most pain was going to be the thing that brought me the most joy later on. I'm not angry or resentful anymore about losing my hair. I can see now that it was a defining experience for me. I'm totally comfortable being known as somebody with hair loss. I can look myself in the mirror and not hate what I see anymore. The connection, fulfillment, and journey to loving myself has been directly related to my hair loss. I may never have had that growth without it. If you're going through a similar situation, I want you to know that you're not a freak of nature like I thought I was. Current statistics show that about 55% of women will experience hair loss by the age of 70. So that actually puts us in the majority. You wouldn't know that though, because a lot of women are still not comfortable talking about their hair loss. Society has made our appearance our #1 asset as women, so losing our hair takes a huge toll on our self-esteem. I just want to send you a giant virtual hug. Validate how hard this is for you and offer you a sliver of hope that you can totally live a full and happy life even with hair loss. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope that you'll share this video with someone who might be going through a similar experience. And if you're interested in learning more about hair toppers, make sure you subscribe to this channel since it is the obsessive topic of conversation here. Bye.